Hi everybody, this is Clarine from In Reenie's Room. Today we're going to be making a shutter card. This is the center of it when it's all opened up. This is the front. This is the back. Plenty of room for sentiment. And you open it up and you can see the little appenditure inside. You do that again. How fun is that? Okay, so that's what we're going to make today. Now I used my paper cutter to do the whole thing. There wasn't a lot of scoring to go on, so I just did everything on the paper cutter. So to begin, we're going to make a base that is 5.5 by 8.5. So here's my 8.5 side. So I'll just turn this and cut 5.5. And then I'll turn it, and I'm going to use the marker here that is for the score part, or the cutting part if I was going to do it. And I'm going to make a score mark at 2 1/8. So instead of cutting it, I'm just going to use my score marker. That's at 2 1/8. I'm going to fold it. Burnish. Now the directions on some of the sites said to make another score line on this side, but then the front never closed properly. So Lisa Curio had a fabulous idea, so I'm going to show you what she came up with, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to gently fold this right side so that this edge meets up with that other edge. Just roll it over there and gently roll that side so that this matches up there. Like that. And have your top and your bottom also lining up. Oh, this is stiff paper. There it goes. Okay. See how they're just touching. And then I'll gently go from the middle out, and on this side as well. And what that does is it evens that nice and snug in the front. And so that'll be the base of the card. And then we're going to cut out 4 panels, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. That's out of pattern paper, and these are going to be 5 1/4 by 1 7/8. And those are going to get glued right here. Now, before I show you how those are glued on, because I already did one ahead of time, we're going to cut the bridge for the middle. That's this section here. This is called the bridge. Let me just set these to the side for a minute. We're going to cut the bridge out of black cardstock. And that's going to be 5.5 by 3. So here's 5.5. By 3 inches. I'll set that to the side, and then we're going to cut a patterned paper to go on the top of that, and that's going to be at 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. So here's my 5 1/4 side that I had already cut before. I had scrap paper left, and by 2 3/4. Bring that over here. So that's 5 1/4. That's 5.5 by 3 for the base, and then the contrast paper is 5.25 by 2 3/4, and that's going to get centered right on the top there. Don't forget to burnish your edges, because that's white and you want it to be black, and that piece will go right like that, which I already completed. So what I did was I brought my 4 panels and glued those down, and then also in the back. And to attach the shutter, you're going to do it with pop-ups. After you have glued that on there, then you put 3 pop-ups on the bottom and 3 at the top. And then you just center it in the center of your 2 sides. And you attach it at the bottom only, not at the top. See how that leaves the top open? Now to get that center out, I used a die that is about 2 3/8. I cut it out of black, and I wanted to center it for my shutter. So I put it in here. Now this is 5.5, so I brought it down here so that I could center it. I made a little line where the center of that circle is. So that's 2 3/4 is the center, which is half of the 5.5. So I put that there. I drew a circle around it with pencil. And then I put it in my Big Shot, punched it out. And that's how I got the center here. And then of course be sure and use a black marker to do your circle. I set all that to the side, and I'll hang on to that template because I'll be making more of these cards, and I'll use it because they'll all use that same size. Okay, so now we're going to make the little shutters on the side. And to do that, we're going to cut, oops, move him out of the way. We're going to cut 2 pieces that are 4 by 3.5. We get a smaller piece. So we're going to cut 4. Oop, that slid. I didn't hold it tight. 4 by 3.5. And I want 2 of those. There's 1. Here's the other 3.5. Okay. Now I want to find the center of this marker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 3.5-inch side at the top. Now half of that is 1 3/4. So I'm going to move this all the way down. This is my edge here to the 1 3/4, and that's the center of the 3.5. So see how I did that? I put the 3.5 at the top, and I moved it over to the 1 3/4. And I'm not going to cut that. I'm going to mark it. This white pin. I'm going to go right down the center where that little wire is. And I'll just make a line. And then I'm going to turn it so the 4-inch side is at the top. Half of that is 2 inches. So I'm sliding that over to the 2 inches. Making another line. And while I've got that in there, this 4-inch side, I'm going to put a 1/2 inch score mark. Now on the right side of this scoring line or cutting line is 1 inch, and here's the 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to scooch it over to the 1/2 inch, make my score line. This is the part that's going to hold the inside the shutter. I'll pin that back, burnish it, and let me do this other one. I'm going to put the 3.5 at the top, move it over to the 170, 1 3/4, sorry, and close that. Mark it with my pin, and I'll put the 4-inch side up at the top. Half of that is 2, so I'll just slide that over and mark that. So what I have is a nice crosshairs. And while I have that in there, that 4-inch at the top, I'm going to scooch this over and do the 1/2 inch score line. Fold and burnish. Now I have that crosshairs, and what I'm going to do next is take the center of that mark and just cut down to the corner. Now I'm just using the larger scissors to do that. You can draw a line there if you're more comfortable. But you're just going from the center down to the corner. And you have your 4-inch fold at the top. Let me go ahead and do this. So we have one for each side. There we go. Alright, let's go back to the base here. Remember, we put the pop-ups 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. This is why the top is open, because we need to be able to work behind there. So what I'm going to do is put score tape on this side. Make sure I get my right side. So I'm going to dry fit this in here. That's going to go there. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on its side. I'm going to be putting my score tape on this edge, that 1/2 inch score that we made. I want to make sure that the edge just comes down to that fold line without touching it. And this angle here should be in the center. Okay, so let me put my tape on the right side. Yeah, this side. I made one of these earlier, and I put the tape on the wrong side, and the shutter wouldn't open. So just make sure it's on that side. There's the mark that goes on the bottom. So your score tape is going to go on the top of that. There we go. Oops. These are great little, it's called a uniball, and it makes wonderful marks and lines on dark backgrounds. All right, so here we go again. I'm going to tuck this under the shutter. I'm going to bring this down so that this line is right up against that score line on the top, but not in the score line. Making sure that this triangle that we cut out is in the middle also. And that looks good. I'm just going to lay it down and bring the side over. We push this down just to make sure it's flat. There we go. And then just burnish that. Okay, so much better. I got a little bit of my tape out there. I don't have an eraser. I might have to use a little eraser later on that. All right, so then on the second side, I'm going to bring this over, do the same thing, have your tape facing up. You're going to slide it in on the side. It doesn't matter if this goes under or over the previous piece that you put in there, just to make sure. The important thing is that you want to have your lines all lined up. By that I mean down here, see these little triangle pieces that are sticking out? You want them equal on the sides so that your aperture in the middle comes. And also have your 1/2 inch at the top, just up against that score line, but not inside of it. And these are lined up too, okay, because there's no little piece sticking out. That looks good, so I'm going to hold that down so that it's flat. And press it down. Okay. Oh, so much better. I tell you, when I put them on backwards earlier, I thought, oh my word. Let's slow down. All right. So, we're going to put the little picture in there. Now, I made my picture, it's about, oh, how much is it? It's 2 1/4 square, and then I made this about 2 1/8 picture out of my Photoshop. So I'm going to put the runner tape on the back. I'll just do a few lines here because I want to make sure it stays. And then I'm going to just kind of use my index finger to get on that sticky part. And I'm going to slide it down behind those 2 pieces that we cut. Like that. So I'm going behind them and coming down. I'm not putting any pressure on it because I don't want it to stick yet. And then I have these open so that I can see that my adventure sentiment is in the center. That looks good. So let me see. Yep, I like that. So I'm going to just bring everything down and hold it down. I'll turn it over and do my burnishing back there. Alright. So now I'm going to take those last 3 pop-ups and they're just going to lay flat and the edges will line up because it's lined up on the bottom already. So I just have those down. So that when you close your card, oh, look at this. It's still not closing. And I'll show you why. These little you see these little triangles that we were lining up the edges with? They're too long on that side. See how when you do that, it won't let this side close because they're sticking out. So we're going to trim them off. Not real far, about 1/4 inch, just to get them out of the way. There we go. And they're not doing that on the other side, so it's just that one side. So now when I close it, it closes. thank you, Lisa, because look how nice that closure is. And then you open it up, and there's your card. How cool is that? Okay, now I made a couple changes on the front. When I did this original one, I thought I wanted something a little bigger. So I added to this circular sentiment that I put on there. So I had cut my circle out of here. This is a Steampunk dog. I like him. I use him a lot. So I cut that out of that same die that I used to make the circle on the bridge. And I have to color this black. But I thought I wanted something a little bit bigger. So I cut out kind of a bronzy color, a little bit bigger circle. So I'm going to glue this circle onto that circle. And then that's going to make the front a little bit bigger by the time I add my ephemera on. And I did that with also with the runner tape, because it's hard to get glue on the glitter paper. It just slides around, and it's just easier to use tape. So I'll put that in the center there. And when I cut out that brass, gold, whatever you call it, I also cut out a contrasting color, because when I put this on my card, I'm going to put it about there, and you go to open it, it would show white, which I don't like. So I also, from the same die, I cut out a contrasting color to put on there. So let me color that black also. And these are just those little marking colored pins. I use Cali Art because I like it, but there's lots of them out there. And look at the color on the back side of this black. This is the side I'm using, but look at that on the other side. Wouldn't that be wild to put on there? Wilder than I want to go. Anyway, so I'm going to put this on here. And I'm going to attach it to the front. And I'm only going to put my glue, and I'm going to use glue to do this, just about a third of the way in. So I'll put that there. And in the center, like so. Make sure I don't have any glue showing, it's okay. Alrighty. There's my base for the front. Then I had a bunch of ephemera that I cut out with my scanning cut. And that's all these little pieces. And I'm just going to put a few on just to show you how I did it. And then I'll turn you loose and you can do yours the way you want to do with whichever ephemera you use. Something else I want to do first also is put this sentiment on the back. And I just cut that out with the die also. It's set right on there. So we put that on. Did I center it before? Yeah. Alright, so I just put it in the center here. There we go. show you a couple of things that I did with mine. I've got some of the flowers. I glued these on, and I glued them on just singularly because they're not going to be showing from the other side. So I mixed in, I've got some birds in here and some stars. There's a tiny little flower inside the star, which is really cute. And then here's a heart, and I'm gluing that on there, so I'm not covering the whole heart, just that edge that's going to stick to the top, like that. And then I put another flower on the bottom. This is the fun part. This is where you get to just lay everything on there. Put it where you think it's going to look good. And then I wanted to put a star up here. Now, when I put a star up here, I'm going to have to put a backing on it because when you open your card, the white will show. And it just doesn't look good. So anytime you're going to be seeing both sides of your ephemera, you really need to have a counter side. So in my Photoshop, when I make something that I know is going to be used that way, I always make the other side reversed so that you can easily put them on. So that's got stuff on the top. I just have to do a little bit on the bottom here. Then this will just fit right on there. Oops, wrong sides. Whoa. So I'm going to put this somewhere else, because I guess I have a bigger star that I used on that first one. I'll put him, where do I put him? I think I'll put him over here. Something like that. And here's the bigger one. This is why it's fun to play with this ephemera. Just lay it on there, get an idea for where it's going to lay. Here we go. And that kind of goes right in there. Yep. And I already burnished the edges with the, I used a dark brown for these. So see how that looks nice when you have your front, and then when you open it up, you don't see white, you just see a nice pattern. And then I think I stuck one more heart up there. So let me make sure I got two the right size here. And this is, yeah, I could do this all day long. I love to play with these. I'm going to put it on top of my star. Just elongate it. I'll kind of go like this. Yeah, like that. So then I got to have my other side, which I probably should have put on first. Up there, put this side on there. I'm going to put them together first. Go like that, leave an opening at the bottom so that I can hook it onto that star. That was my original goal. And I'll put it like that. There we go. So that it looks good on both sides. Okay. And so I also, let me just show you the finished one. You don't have to watch me put this on, because you'll put them in the spots that you want, you know, what looks good to you. And I'll just show you the finished one, and it'll give you an idea. Again, to put these, I use pop-ups on these. And this big chest piece, I use pop-ups as well. I didn't put anything on the side, but you could if you wanted to add something there. And in the back, I put some along the bottom there. Okay, there you have it, your shutter card. Thanks a lot for coming by. I hope you have a good time making your card as well. Bye-bye.